Oh, wow.
Well, we don't have a big crowd here.
Nope, we're here.
All right, everybody's probably in, I would assume, and it is 10 o'clock. And welcome to the Tuesday, October 13th policy session. And I'm going to turn it over to our outstanding administrator, His Highness Gary Schmidt.
Chair Bernard, you're very gracious as always. First roll call, Chair Bernard.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Here.
Commissioner Humberston.
Here.
Thank you. First, we'll start with wildfire updates. Nancy Bush, Director of Disaster Management and Incident Commander of our Emergency Operations Center. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. So the Wildland fire update, I first want to update you on the fires themselves because we still have the Riverside fire that is going, and we still have a federal team there. It has not grown in size. The containment now is 61%, and there's still 169 personnel on that particular fire. Beachy Creek is also still burning, and it is still under the federal the umbrella, and its containment is now 72%, and that fire has not grown either, and they have 226 total personnel on that particular fire. The other fires, Unger, Dowdy, and Graves, are all 100% contained, and Wilhoit fire is now at 94% contained. So other things we have going on, I want to talk a little bit about flooding and what might be coming here in the near future. So after a wildland fire of significance for the next 3 to 5 years, it's not uncommon to see some heavy flooding in the area. So we are encouraging, all homeowners that might be downstream from the fires will want to take a look to see if they have flood insurance or if they want to get flood insurance. And we are putting some messages out about that. But until vegetation grows back, we could have mudslides, we could have flooding, and other debris that's going into the waterways. So let's see here. And then also we are working to collect the final numbers and data for public assistance in public right-of-ways, the fire districts, water providers, anything that is public owned, and they call that public assistance. I know that can be confusing. The deadline for that is November 13th, and we have sent out all of the notices to all of our partners, as well as here in Clackamas County, because we too have to get all that information into the system. I want to mention again, of course, that our right of entry forms for hazardous household waste cleanup, which is free if you sign up now and get your right of entry forms in by the 16th, which is Friday. And our resource center is open through Friday at 6 o'clock. So if you want to go by there and pick one up, please do so, and you can fill it out there and someone is there to help you. Or you can go to our website at clackamas.us/wildfires and click on right of entry and get the form and actually complete it online as well. One of the things I do want to talk to you just a little bit about today too is a debris removal contract is going to be required. We do have a debris monitoring and management contract, 5-year contract with Tetra Tech, which we had in place earlier in the spring as part of our planning piece. But the debris removal piece has to be done after the event and has to be competitive. And we're going to be taking a look at that. We're going to send you all the information that you need to see to make some decisions and have a session with you on Tuesday of next week. But just wanted to let you know that, and hopefully if you're okay with this, that we're going to be looking at a 5-year contingency contract, which is recommended as we continue to go through cleaning up debris in right-of-ways, et cetera. And if we have any other events over the next 5 years, we could use this contract. And again, you'll be seeing that contract as well as getting more information on Tuesday of next week to make those final decisions. And I'm just wondering if there's any issues with that plan that we have in place to do that.
Ken, you had a question?
Just one, and it's in relation to the impact of the fires on the river. I think if I remember correctly, we have at least 5 intakes for water districts on the Clackamas River.
Yes.
We expect a heck of a lot of stuff ending up in that river, and I'm not sure there's been how much conversation there's been between the water providers and their constituents, that they're preparing for what's probably going to happen to the river and the water quality.
Yes, that is a really good point. And we've been working with the water districts very closely as well. And also we're, wanting to make sure we know where the intakes are and what may or may not happen with those intakes in the future. But all of our water providers are very aware and are working on that issue and making sure that they understand what might be happening in the future. Thank you.
Well, some good public relations outreach to their constituents to reassure them that, the water's still going to be pure and all of the rest of it might be useful.
And I
Yes.
just want to add that the fires were above the dam. And so maybe some mud and debris above the dam, but the dam's going to keep a lot of that from flowing down. So I talked to the governor about it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a catchment area at that dam.
Paul?
Yeah, so similar on that same vein, my concern below the dam and upstream from the intakes, with the exception of Estacada, of course, my concern is about any kind of debris that causes any kind of a jamming, which could cause flooding. If you all remember 10 years ago, 11 years ago, maybe they've done something to make sure to remedy that, but we even had the brand new library in Estacada got flooded out. If you all remember that, it was relatively brand new and got flooded. So there's things like that I expect to happen throughout that whole drainage area. But my other question, that's a concern. My other question is with regards to is it okay from a forestry or native type thing to do any kind of a seeding or planting, aerial type or something, or to help get some rooting into the soil to keep it from keeping some slides? I mean, the ground needs stability in a lot of hilly areas, and absent any kind of seeding, it's likely to have a lot of erosion.
Yeah, that is true. And I know that, of course, this is not the best time of the year either to seed because it's just going to wash off. And I know that there's been some discussion about that and what that may look like. I don't have a good answer for you right now.
Okay.
It's also very, depending on, we're also working on getting some LiDAR. Hopefully we'll be able to get that to see some of the slide areas as well. And until we get some of that data too, it's hard to tell where some of this is going to be coming from.
Is anyone doing anything especially in the areas of topography where it's steep, to maybe establish zones or areas so that people or hunters or anyone is advised what area is safe and not safe?
That's a question because most of that is, of course, national forest, and we would have to ask that question of those who own that forest land.
Right. Thank you.
Martha?
Yeah, do we know what the effect's going to be on fish
I'm
passage?
sorry, that's the first time I've had that question. I don't know.
I know that I've been working with David Bugney and all the folks that do all the watershed work. We're working on a conference, a virtual conference on the Clackamas watershed for next year. And there may be some indicators. I'd have to check with them because it's not my area of expertise, but it may be that some of that debris that goes down is actually good for fish, but I don't know how true that is. He has also emailed me, and I actually need to get this to Gary and to the rest of you about an idea of closing down the national forest right now, similar to what Paul just talked about, because it's dangerous. So.
Well, some of the national forest is still closed.
Right, yeah. I mean, he's thinking about leaving it closed for a while. I don't know how that would work or who we'd talk to, but I'll get more information on it for folks. Okay.
I have heard that a lot of the best fishing spots on the Clackamas were damaged above the dam, as
Really?
well as Promontory Park's gone.
Promontory Park is gone. Wow.
Yep.
Hmm.
All right, I don't see any other questions on this issue. Gary?
Thank you. Next is coronavirus update, and Nancy will provide that as well.
Okay. All right, for Oregon, I will go through our numbers. We have 37,467 positives. There's 599 deaths, 707,788 negatives. Clackamas County now has 2,755 positives with 64 deaths and 66,235 negatives. Multnomah County has 8,041 positives, 146 deaths, 154,863 negatives. And Washington County has 5,100 positives, 67 deaths, and 101,068 negatives. Statewide, there are 154 hospitalizations. 40 of those are in ICU beds and 16 of those are on ventilators. There's 162 adult ICU beds that are available here in the state, and there's 775 ventilators that are available statewide. The cases for the week for Clackamas County from 10/5 through 10/11 is 190. We had several days in a row where we had over 30 cases this past week. That is 45.5 per 100,000. We have 35 total outbreaks that our public health staff are working. For workplaces, there are 13. Food and farm, there's 1. Long-term care facility retirement is 16. Daycares is 2. Schools is 2. There are none in the healthcare settings, and there's 1 social for, again, a total of 35. Also, I wanted to mention here that I know we talked a few weeks ago and that we had put up around $2 million. I'm sorry, about $1.5 million aside for businesses, and then about another $500,000 to help restaurants with their fees. We do want to add to that and make the fees a $1.2 million from our CARES dollars that would help restaurants, hotels, pools, and child care facilities to do their fees that they have to pay to the county in order to be in business. So that would bring our total for the businesses to $2.7 million. I'm sorry, around $2.5 million. And was just wanting to bring that here to the group to see if you had any issues with us adding for the fees, hotels, pools, and child cares. And one of the things that they do have to do is show that they had an economic downturn during COVID.
Everyone good with that? I am.
When does it go live?
It has to go live very soon because we have to have it, we have to have it all done by the end of December. So as soon as you guys agree, then our public health staff and our finance staff will start working on it.
So we're good?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
that is my update.
thank you, Nancy. Gary?
All right, thank you, Nancy, very much. Moving on, business meeting agenda review for this Thursday, October 15th. You have a Housing Authority consent agenda, a presentation from Water Environment Services on the upcoming Oregon City ballot measure, and a consent agenda. That is all. If you have any questions prior to Thursday, if you please let me know, and I'm happy to provide you the information you need.
Was Sherry Hall coming in, though, to give an update on the elections?
She had not asked, but I could ask her if you like.
I think it would be good.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. So I want to add too, in case you guys don't know, I have jury duty during lunch, really. So Martha's going to take over on the employee recognition, which she's going to just read the names, and I've seen the names. Good luck, Martha. It's a virtual meeting, and basically it's just introduce people, have your lunch, and then give people about a minute to tell what they do and what their bosses can talk about how great they are. And that's pretty much it. And
Okay.
I signed the documents, but they'll get them next week when Gary has an opportunity to sign them.
Okay.
Hey, Gary?
Yes, very good. A scheduling ask for you, commissioners. The Association of Oregon Counties Annual Conference is November 17th through November 19th. It will be entirely remote, and the sessions are from 9 a.m. to noon. That Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, November 17th through November 19th. So would you like to cancel your morning work sessions on Tuesday, November 17th, and cancel your business meeting on Thursday, November 19th, so that you may attend the Association of Oregon Counties virtual conference?
So we have a lot to do and we're gonna be taking a holiday. I'm a little worried that if we cancel some of these things, we're not gonna get the work done. So I don't know how many of you are gonna do the AOC. How many was gonna do the AOC? I know Martha.
I have,
So could we do it in the afternoon and cancel the morning?
yeah,
Could we also do Wednesday?
So for Tuesday, you will still have afternoon sessions, so we can move issues in exec session to Tuesday afternoon, so that would be okay. For Thursday, November 19th, you could hold your business meeting in the afternoon, you could hold it in the evening, or we can move it to Wednesday.
Move it to Wednesday.
yeah.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, that would also be AOC, forgive me. AOC is every day every morning that week.
What about Wednesday afternoon? You guys good with that?
Sure.
I'm okay.
Paul?
Well, I have a qualifying question first, and that is does anyone know, every cycle, there usually is a new commissioner orientation element to, and if in the event, my question is, is AOC gonna do that this year, or just hold that off? That's question number one. And it may not be necessary or apply to us whatsoever, but I just have that question. I'm trying to get an idea how complete the conference is going to be. But I don't know if the Thursday, as far as our business meeting, if that's going to be the day that they typically have the business meeting element of the AOC, right, where they elect officers and all that. So I guess maybe before we jump into that, I'd like to look at the agenda for what the programming is going to be. But if we can kick off, if we don't necessarily need to have the business meeting, our business meeting on Thursday, we can delay that. I'd like to do that. I just want to make sure that, if there's something that's important there, that we're not missing it.
It says orientation here is supposed to take place. I just got a chat on Monday from Christina.
Okay.
Christina sent me something. What,
Okay.
Christina, what
Yeah.
did you? Yeah,
Kimberly just came in and told me that the orientation will take place on Monday.
for
Okay.
new commissioners, right? Yeah, okay.
And the annual business meeting is Thursday, November 19th from 9 a.m. to noon. That is the
Yeah.
Thursday morning session.
We were gonna do it Thursday afternoon or Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
Wednesday.
Afternoons are held for affiliate meetings. So if any of you are members of affiliate parts of AOC, I think that's mostly staff, but if you are, that would be your afternoon sessions.
Sonia.
Yeah, I think what Gary's doing and what Paul requests is what I would like to do. I'd like to know when we are not going to need to be participating. I know that Paul, Martha, and I are all in leadership positions on AOC. And quite frankly, I find it really valuable in my work as a commissioner. So if there are times that we are not going to be engaged, but I don't have the agenda in front of me, so I don't really feel like I can weigh in.
Well, we'll look
Informatively.
at the agenda and get it to you guys and talk further. Paul?
Yeah, I just got a message from staff that that Thursday morning is going to be the AOC business meeting like they normally do. So it'll actually be exactly the same time as our business meeting. So, I think it's always important to be a part of that, but maybe one of us can do that.
All right.
Yeah, I'm fine. Go ahead, Gary.
I'm canceling the Tuesday and Thursday morning sessions. Tuesday afternoon, you're already meeting. And then as far as the business meeting, we'll get an agenda to you first before you decide when you want to hold your business meeting or cancel it.
Right.
Wednesday afternoon or Thursday afternoon, basically.
Those are your choices, or we cancel it. So yes,
Right.
we'll get you the agenda. You still have a month to make this decision.
Yep.
Right. Thank you. Next, advisory board and commission appointments. Christina, please.
Alrighty, so the Board of Property Tax Appeals, interviewed and staffed by the Clackamas County Clerk's Office, was looking to get up to 8 board members. They did receive 7 applications, and 6 applicants are being recommended for the selection. The 6 applicants that are recommended are prior BOPTA board members.
What's BOTA?
Board of Property
of
Tax
Tax.
Appeal, sorry. It was written out and then I just followed it. So the 6 recommendations are Vicki Pounds, William Spencer, Daryl McCarthy, James Temple, Richard Deich, James Stallcup.
So move the slate.
I move to approve the slate, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Paul, you were a second. All right. Any further discussion? Christina, will you poll us?
Of course. So looks like Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
and Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Gary?
Next, jail inspection report. By state law, county commissioners must inspect the jail facilities within the counties annually. And this year, Commissioners Fisher and Humberston and myself did this tour last week. So I would like to give Commissioner Fisher and Humberston an opportunity to give a quick update of your impressions of the jail tour.
Again,
Well-
you want to start?
Okay. I just want to, I guess, reiterate what I mentioned the other day, that there's a program that they are now doing that I thought was exceptional, and that's called the 24-hour day access to the crisis hotline. If there are inmates that are having mental or emotional difficulties, but they don't necessarily want to speak to corrections officials, they can get access to the crisis hotline at any time. That's particularly advanced thinking as far as I'm concerned. They should be commended for putting in that program. It's at no cost to the taxpayers, which is even better. And if you consider it in the bigger picture, you're much less likely to have suicides and the lawsuits from families that go with that. You're much less likely to have confrontations between staff and inmates and the lawsuits that can come from that. And you're much less likely to have injuries, particularly of our jail deputies, that oftentimes result in medical retirements that are much more expensive for taxpayers. So whether you view this from a purely fiscal standpoint or you view this from a humanitarian standpoint, it's an absolutely outstanding program, and the Sheriff's Department should be commended for doing it.
Thank you again. Sonia?
Yeah, so I asked a lot of questions regarding how they are keeping things clean, what is happening with as far as isolation of inmates, how they are managing COVID. Ken and I actually went to the area that's right next to the medical area. And I don't know if you guys have seen this because you haven't been to jail since there's been COVID, but they have people really isolated, and it's really kind of sad that when there's a COVID issue, people have to be so isolated, but they have to protect the overall population. And they have systems that I found really interesting. Ken, I don't know if you thought this was interesting, but how they just keep smaller, I want to call them pods because that's what I think, like learning pods, but I'm sure in criminal justice they're not called pods, or maybe they are. Ken, do you remember what they call them, the smaller groups of people?
Pods.
They're just basically day rooms that are limited to roughly 10 inmates, and so they're able to keep each group separate, and that makes it easier for contact tracing should anybody come down with COVID. but I'm
Yeah.
not sure if they use the term pods or
I
not.
know, I didn't want to totally misspeak in this presentation. And well, Gary was there too. He could answer it. So one thing I was also really interested in was with COVID and with needing to keep things clean and knowing that people that are in the jails do the cleaning and knowing that cleaning materials could be hazardous, how all those safety protocols work. So we asked a lot of questions about that. And the thing that was, this is a total anecdotal piece, but I went through the tour of the jail in 2008 as part of Leadership Lake Oswego. I had also, through my graduate studies, gone on tours of like the state penitentiary and other facilities. And in my brain, I had remembered it all combined together. So in my mind, our jail was way bigger than it actually is. So to go through it now with the eye of, this is Clackamas County, these are our residents, these are, you know, it was kind of eye-opening for me. I did not remember the jail as it is. And it's not that, there's not that many inmates, and they really lessen them. What were they? There were 400 and something before, and now they're down to 200 and something.
Change. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was good. I know you've all done it. This was my turn to go as a commissioner. Was really happy to have the opportunity, and it's always nice to hang out with the staff there that are the leaders, and meeting the nurse. Such knowledge and genuine care and compassion. Oh, the other piece, I don't know if you want to talk about all of since we are always thinking about drug use and abuse and the opioid crisis and how they deal with that within the jail and dealing with detoxing people in the jail. And I mean, it really is kind of a pseudo medical facility, although they do send people with pretty intense needs to the hospital, but they're pretty equipped. I was actually kind of surprised about that too. I don't know if you felt that, Ken, with how comprehensive that piece was.
Well, you know, when you consider that it's a very old jail by today's standards, and obviously one of our capital needs, I think they do an incredibly good job of taking care of the people that come in their charge. I was very pleased to know that medical staff absolutely have the authorities to not accept someone and send them to the hospital first if necessary, which is excellent. So all in all, I think they do an exceptional job. And it should be noted that Mr. Erb, I believe his name is the officer in charge of the jail, is recognized around the state as a real professional and as an expert in the corrections field. So we have some pretty talented people working there in that field.
Yeah, the other piece I was, oh, sorry, Martha, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was also interested in the response time for if somebody has a medical issue and how quickly can they respond. And they reported that they respond very quickly to those types of issues and concerns. So, okay, and now I think that's all that I'm going to remember, but I might remember something else when Commissioner Schrader asked her question.
No, I just think we need a new jail. That's all I was going to say. That's been on the books for years, but
It's an old jail.
Pardon me?
It's an old jail, an old system.
It's a 1950s. I mean, it's about as bad as the courthouse in many ways.
I know, we should have asked about that specifically, like with the new jail, what would you have different? What about this jail? We didn't ask that question. I think that's good. They basically highlighted the things that were working well and answered all our questions, but I didn't see the parts that were problematic.
It's inefficient.
It's a great place to visit, but a terrible place to stay.
Well, one of the main things is the multiple floor situation there. You've got stairs up and down in certain areas that are not accessible to handicapped individuals or people with other special needs, and the slope of the ramps in the areas that are ramped does not meet ADA standards. So they have some legitimate issues there, particularly around ADA issues. Treatment-wise, you might be able to make some changes in the physical layout to be more effective on the treatment end of things. But they do an incredibly good job, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the treatment issues with the facility that they have.
I was really
Paul?
surprised at how shiny the floors were.
That is pretty much true in almost any jail you will see. That is one thing that gets done. The floors get shiny.
Paul and then Gary.
Yeah, I just want to recognize that that we put some money in the jail, you know, about 8, 9, 10 years ago, and we've made investments. We remodeled it essentially, so seeing the before and after. I just want to recognize that it has been, you know, improved from what it was. And there are aspects, facilities, amenities there that are there today that were not there. So we have made an investment to buy some time. I don't disagree with, you know, the aspect of, you know, somewhere down the road when we're in a better position, we look at, you know, maybe some other models. But I would encourage you to tour the Washington County Jail. I have years ago, I toured the Washington County Jail. So if you want to get an idea of what a new model looks like, to get to Commissioner Fisher's question, and the I think that's a great model. You can actually have better monitoring and control eyesight on all of the that wing, if you want to call it that. I don't know what the term is, but they're able to do it with less staff and provide a safer environment for everyone involved.
That actually is called a pod.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, because I went actually to a jail conference with the sheriff when I first got here, and they talked about building separate pods where you can watch the whole thing. It reduces staffing. It is much better, but
Safer.
obviously, like you said, Paul, it's not something that we can afford right now. Gary?
Yes, the Clackamas County Jail was built in 1958. It is the oldest county jail in Oregon. It is on your Red Soils master plan, commissioners, to replace the jail, as is the courthouse, as is to build a third office building for employees. We're about 20 years behind on capital improvements, but this is one of the many things listed that needs to occur. Rebuild the county jail.
All right, Gary, what's up next?
All right, finally, Commissioner Communications.
Who'd like to start? Martha, let's go for you.
Well, just that I've been working with David Bugney. I'm going to have Tracy forward you the emails that he sent me about forest issues. And what we're working with is a group of scientists and folks like Clackamas River Water Basin Council. And we're working on going to be a virtual conference. It'll have 2 tracks. It'll have essentially folks who are, actively science, oriented, and then it'll have another track for more general public kinds of things. So it's pretty interesting. I think that our watersheds are one of the more fascinating things that we deal with in this county, and because of the wildfires and the impact on the water systems and the basins, I think it's going to be a real timely. So that's been kind of fun. That's been a really interesting piece to do. Other than that, off the top of my head, I'm just reading all the stuff every day, every single day. Just trying to keep. Okay.
Thank you. Who, Ken, you wanted to go?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to use my time to commend our staff and Sandy Net. We received a contact from a citizen who has 8 children, lives in a very rural area. And the internet services she had from a small card from Verizon simply was not sufficient for her to be able to put multiple children on electronic devices and make sure that they get a sufficient education while we're on this COVID lockdown. And taking 8 children in her car to a hotspot was definitely not a viable option to sit there and try and do homework. So she contacted us to see if there was anything we could do, and had the opportunity to talk to Duke Dexter, a part of our 2 Daves and a Duke trio in CBX. He got in touch with Sandy Net, and Within 2 days, Sandy Net flew a drone, found a pathway for a signal, are going to put may have already done so, but are going to put a box on a tree about 45 feet in the air near her home and drop a line down to the house. And they will be able to provide much better internet services for this lady and her children. On top of that, the word got back to the superintendent, who recognized that children, two of the special needs children that she has, have IEPs, and they are required to make sure those kids get what they need without question. And the superintendent drove out there with all the packages of paperwork that the kids needed in the interim until the system gets up and running. So I just wanted to commend our staff, Duke Dexter in particular, for the work he did with Sandy Net, and also commend Sandy Net for what they have done in making sure that this lady gets service that she needs to take care of her children. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'll touch a little bit later on this afternoon on some of the transportation stuff, because our 1:30 presentation has some of that as it relates to our goals, but been very, very busy with that, as I constantly have been sharing with you. Just want to also give you a feel for what's currently going on. Nothing to be alarmed of, but there was some confusion around libraries a little bit with the city of Gladstone. We think we got that remedied. I spoke to the mayor yesterday, so I think we're going to she's going to do her best to clear up that confusion this evening with the city council. Staff put together a proposal to help make sure that Gladstone interests are well represented at their citizen level. The NCPRD group, we met last Wednesday. We actually had some coalescing around a few things. So I've talked to Mr. Madcore. He's going to offer either himself or his staff to provide some assistance to help expedite our work to get it done on the bylaws. So I think things are going good there. And lastly, I just want to share with you that the discussion going around the country right now with regard to the conversation you just have about providing internet access in light of COVID and school and access for education opportunities and remote learning, that a lot of the private sector companies are really putting out, and I don't know their timetable, but I know that T-Mobile and Comcast locally have expressed, and nationally have expressed, programs and talked about programs to help. So I think this is a time where community all comes together, and we look for those partnerships in a temporary form to bridge those gaps. But these mobile hotspots are what they're offering as an interim solution. And of course, that depends on some cell tower access. So where there is cell tower access, that might be a good interim tool. And where there's not, maybe our broadband, dropping a local hotspot like Ken just described, isn't it? But we need to. I think there is a lot of attention on this and the partnerships with the schools to make sure we're not double tracking and all of us kind of going at the same goal. So I think it's a lot of coordination, but we're going to get through this. And the biggest thing, obviously, right now is that if the colder weather drives people indoors, there's a higher likelihood for more exposure to COVID. And look what's happening in Lane County right now at the University of Oregon. Their flare-ups are typically at the university right now. So we're going to see a lot more of that, unfortunately.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Sonia?
Thank you. I'm following the Gary Schmidt method of doing the meeting. So I have the laptop right in front of me. I've got two screens here, but I can tell you that trying to use my mouse across three screens and finding it where it is to get to unmute myself is really challenging. But I'm hoping that this works better in having access to information. So thank you, Gary, for your tutoring and support for me. We'll see how it goes. I've usually been using iPads for documents and laptops for Zoom. I'm now trying to just use the laptop for everything. I just wanted to share, I participated with our Aging Advisory Council yesterday, and it was really great. Going around the Zoom room to check in with folks and hearing how they've been dealing with COVID and the wildfires, and just hearing those individual stories was really, really enlightening. One thing that I've been concerned about, of course, I know we've all been concerned about it, are those that are displaced from the fires. And so there was a person that participated in the Aging Services Committee that had lost a house in another fire, and talked about the process of rebuilding, and that it took 14 months for her to reestablish and rebuild. And I'm just like, wow, that is just that seems like such a long time. And I would just like somehow, I don't know how we get it. Maybe it's maybe the home builders have done some assessment as to what this means for, what is the time frame going to be? What is the market going to be? I was having a conversation with some folks from the Realtor Association, and some of the talks in the industry are, bringing in, because we have such building needs in Oregon, all across Oregon now, bringing in from out of state. There's just some real concerns, and just how this all interplays with the market, and then also with the eviction moratorium. So my brain, all these conversations and things are from here we are right now, but really wanting to plan for 6 months from now, from a year from now, and what are we doing to get ready? And which means we need information and data, and I'm not sure where we get that. And so Gary, I'm just throwing this out there so we can all be thinking about it. We've just got to start thinking ahead. The other thing that I wanted to throw out, I don't know if folks saw, we got an email from a constituent concerned about militias, and one of our CPOs, and t-shirts and different activities. How do we, this was like, wow, this is a lot of really good information that I had no idea was happening. Are we all, do other commissioners know what's happening in our communities? There was a Facebook that I don't know is real or not real regarding issues up on Mount Hood. I was texting back and forth with Ken to try to get a sense of what's really going on. How do we know in a COVID world where we're supposed to limit our activities and not meet with groups of people, and all these things are happening in Clackamas County? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
What's happening in the rural areas? I've seen it up in Malala. I mean, it's pretty evident. And usually the area between Sandy and Estacada, Wildcat Mountain Road, is kind of a hot spot for that kind of activity.
I don't know what we do about it.
I know, yeah, a lot of ammunition hidden. Usually it explodes every so often out there. I don't know
what we can do, but I think knowing what's going on, because people are, this constituent was concerned. She has a mixed family, and was concerned about what's happening. And I don't know what we do, but I think we need to be aware.
I would be concerned too. Yeah, I mean, obviously. But I think I don't know, but if the recourse is to go directly to law enforcement and report, and oftentimes the sheriff deputies, if they know you and they know this is happening, they'll make a little bit of an extra effort to check in. I've experienced that myself. Where?
Well, I know it was reported to the sheriff.
It was,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the email said it was reported to the sheriff, and he really wasn't, I would say, going to get involved at this time. But it is nice to know it's occurring.
Yeah, I mean, I just know that when I let the deputies know, they did a check pretty frequently at the farm, that when things were weird.
Well, I'm just thinking in this COVID world, we've been at this now for 7 months. I haven't been to a Grange breakfast. I haven't been to a real life CPO meeting. I haven't been, we haven't had our, those community leader meetings where we just have the people around and we could mill around and just, hey, how you doing? What's going on?
Mhm.
We just don't have that anymore. So, and things are, the divide in our country is escalating. We're seeing it play out in Clackamas County. How do we connect and be connected with our constituents and our concerns? And I know we've all spent lots of time on the phone talking to people, individuals, and doing lots of meetings, but I don't know. Gary, I'm throwing this over to you, especially since you are not only our county administrator, but you are former public affairs director. So we can think about some strategies, because I think we're going to be at this COVID world for quite a while still, especially since the vaccine trials have been put on hold.
Gary, did you want to add anything?
First, you have a community leaders meeting next week. It's virtual, but you will have that. So that's an opportunity to connect with your community leaders. And as you heard from your Hamlet update last week, they are still meeting remotely, which any commissioner can attend anytime. That's just one example. I'll follow up. I've shared, I'm following up with the sheriff's staff on that particular instance up on the Sandy area to see what's going on. And I'll report back to you when I hear.
Hey, Gary, one thing that might be a good idea, I don't know if we can do it for this meeting, but I've been involved with some chamber meetings where we do breakout rooms where maybe 3 or 4 people just get together and have conversation. I don't know if that's possible for the future for the community leaders, but I really enjoyed connecting one-on-one with folks. And that's just this COVID thing is getting tiring. Honestly, I'm just tired of and it's not like I'm really isolated. I do go out and, do things, but it's, with all of you guys for sure, it's really a bummer. So
All right.
that's my communication, probably more communication than Chair Bernard wanted me to do.
I've got to head home, get ready for jury duty pretty soon here. Paul? Yeah, Al, your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say to the question posed, and I think Martha touched on her answer was pretty well got there. I think our responsibility is to report it to the law to law enforcement. They have a responsibility to report that to their the agency they think is appropriate. I'll just tell you that anything that looks like it's going to be a terror-based or anything that resembles that, they've got a responsibility to pass it on. And it's a lot more sophisticated than we realize. And I think just having our citizens report something, whether it doesn't necessarily mean it's a crime, but if they feel good about it, logging it as an email and us forwarding it as an email and having a paper trail record that it went to law enforcement is the best we can do. And we just got to entrust that. I tell you that with, my experience 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, when I attended my first national domestic terrorism course in Washington, D.C. It was quite the education. It really is. It's something that we've been working on in our country for years and years and years. And I just tell you that as long as they know it and they've got their finger on it, and we pass that information on, I think we can convey to our citizens that we've reported whatever we can. That's the best we can do. Our job as commissioners is
Right.
Be careful, pass the information on, don't ignore it, but we can't get into that entirely.
All right. You done, Sonia? Okay. So interesting. We have 3,000 to 4,000 trees in the right of way that are going to need to come down. I hope that we're going to look at processing these trees if possible, and bringing them to our various sawmills, local sawmills. CPO leadership. Why was I going to say that? I want to make sure that I heard a comment that we really didn't thank the CPO leaders who came before us. I want to make sure that they know how thankful we are for the work they're doing. especially the Beaver Creek CPO and their food box program, what they did to help the schools. I actually came home the other day and my house was surrounded by police, sheriff, local police. And I walked up, I thought, what the heck? Did they find a skunk or something? No, I was just kidding. So it turns out it was my neighbor who had an issue the night before. But the first thing I thought about was that group up at the mountains. You know, we do need to be careful. And like you guys have all said, knowing helps, and making sure the sheriff also knows. Gary, and then I had a question. I could just text somebody, but DTD, is it open for the public? I know that applicants for projects go online, but I think is there an opportunity for them to meet with the planning department on a project? I don't know that.
Yes, that department is open to the public, the Development Services Building and DTD in particular, Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Yes.
Okay. All right, just checking. Other than that, I'm going to try to come back. I don't know if I'll get on this jury. I'd like to be back for the 3 o'clock session. If I'm not, I would like to reschedule that for another day soon. That is the short-term rental discussion. So I'm going to let Gary know as soon as I know. And that's where we're at. Anything else you'd like to add, Gary?
No, other than you have the employee lunch here at noon, commissioners,
I'll
and
be there.
otherwise you're done until 1:30 p.m.
All right. Hopefully I'll see you before the 3 o'clock meeting. I'd
Okay.
love to get on a jury. I'd love to, but this one is well, probably can't tell you. I'd have to kill you. All right. Thank you. And we'll see you hopefully at 1:30.
Okay.